Hello YouTube, welcome to Monday's edition of The Breakfast Club. I'm Got That Funk. I want to thank you for joining me. I'd also like to thank Matt of The Evil Atheists for standing in for Wayne Watley on Friday. It's good to have new hosts on The Breakfast Club from time to time, and we will continue to do so. I've got another guest host coming up this week on Wednesday, standing in for Landon Cole, who's got a bit too much on his plate this week to make a video for the BC, but he'll be back again next week. And in the meantime, we've got a new person standing in for him who's never done a Breakfast Club video before. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll leave it to you to tune in and find out for yourself. Anyway, oh, by the way, if you've already asked to be a guest host in the Breakfast Club, I haven't called on you yet. Don't take that personally, and don't think I've ignored it or forgotten about it. You're still on the list. It's just a long list. And I want to thank you for your patience. Anyway, right, on to the topic of this video, which is Hillary Clinton. Last week, I made a video called Bernie or Bust versus Realpolitik, in which I talked about my increasing sympathy for the Bernie or Bust movement based on the fact that the more I learn about Hillary Clinton, the less I realize that I can vote for her in good conscience. I can't vote for her in good conscience. It's that simple. And, you know, Landon, in the comments section of my video, asked me a straightforward question, which I think merits conversation, which is, what's so objectionable about Hillary that makes you feel that strongly? You know, he didn't say those exact words, but that's the gist of it. And other viewers asked the same, and I think it's a fair point to make, so I wanted to talk about it this week. Now, Hillary Clinton is a known quantity in American politics, you know, from the time she was First Lady especially onwards. So that's the best part of 25 years, and in that amount of time, I'm sad to say that I don't really know who Hillary Clinton is, and I read lots of Living Witness when that book was new. I have since got rid of that book, but yeah, I read a lot of that, and I've also paid attention to the news and stuff, and I'm aware of Hillary Clinton's actions in politics over the past 15 years in particular. But quite frankly, I just don't think I know what Hillary Clinton actually stands for as a person. I think she is a vehicle for interests. And you might say, well, Paul, that's true about all politicians or most politicians or whatever. And yeah, if it is true about most politicians, that's certainly a problem. It doesn't exempt Hillary Clinton from being part of that problem. But anyway, I digress. You know, I don't trust Hillary Clinton, and I'm not alone in that supposition. I think the polls show that a majority of people don't trust her, and she's running for president. I mean, shouldn't most people trust her if we're going to vote for her? I mean, wouldn't trust be like one of your main considerations when you're voting, just as a principle? So that's one thing. Now, people say, well, you know, why wouldn't you trust her? You know, what do you think she's going to do that she says she's not going to do, or what do you think she's not going to do that she says she is going to do? That kind of thing. And she says that she won't let money, the donators to her campaign, affect her decision making, and that's demonstrably false. You know, I'm incredibly suspicious about the fact that she chooses not to divulge the transcripts to her speeches to Goldman Sachs, because, you know, she could dispel all the speculation about it and, you know, prove her own case if there was nothing in there that was compromising. And the fact that she won't disclose it just automatically makes one suspicious, at least, that there is something compromising. But more to the point, I think you can just point to her stated policies and legitimately question whether or not they're connected to the fact she takes money from these institutions. For example, she openly opposes reinstating Glass-Steagall, which made it sort of separated commercial banking from private banking. And that was set in by FDR to sort of help alleviate the crash of 28. You know, anyways, and they got rid of it during the last Clinton administration. And Bernie Sanders wants to reinstate Glass-Steagall immediately, and that would he also wants to break up the big banks. Now, Hillary Clinton does not want to break up the big banks as of this moment, and she is against reinstating Glass-Steagall in principle. And both of those things just happen to be what the banks want. Is that a coincidence that she takes all that money from the banks and just happens to want the things the banks want? I mean, you know, there may not. I don't think you need proof of collusion to legitimately wonder. And if you're that to me means that it's okay not to trust her, because you can't know, you can't determine for sure whether she is being influenced by this money or not, but there is evidence to suggest that she might be. You know, if you want to remove that suspicion, don't take their fucking money and then have the same positions. You know? And that's another thing, just as an aside. I mean, what Bernie's taught us this campaign, the fact that he won't get the nomination is a bummer, but what he's taught us is you don't have to rely on these big money interests in order to fight a viable campaign. So that's another thing. Now, another thing that I learned, I watched a Secular Talk video about a month ago where he was talking about some of the things that you can connect Hillary Clinton and money with, and one thing he mentioned was that when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, Saudi Arabia was trying to negotiate a weapons deal, which wasn't going through, and it wasn't going through, and then they donated money to the Clinton Foundation, and boom, the weapons deal got approved. Again, you probably can't draw any direct lines from one thing to another, but on the other hand, you know, the timing is a bit sus, and you know, the fact is you're taking money from people and then doing those people favors. There's a sequence to it. I don't know that you need proof to be suspicious, and if you're suspicious, then isn't that a reason not to trust? So there's a couple of reasons why I don't trust Hillary Clinton. Another thing about Hillary Clinton that bugs me on a different level. Back in 2010 on my own channel, I used to do a lot of videos about the TSA, Transport Security Administration, I think it stands for in America. And they're the ones who, back in late 2010, were installing these body scanners in all the airports. And what a body scanner basically does, if you've never had to go through one, it's a machine that you sort of stand in and hold your arms up and whatever, and it x-rays in a sense. It doesn't actually use x-rays, I don't think, but it sees through your clothes. It's basically a strip search, but you don't actually have to strip. And from my point of view, at the time and even still, that's a complete violation of the Fourth Amendment. And so I used to be quite concerned about it. And I remember seeing Hillary Clinton on TV be asked by a reporter, you know, would she submit to those types of searches when she traveled? And Hillary Clinton said, well, not if I could avoid it. Which, especially with the intonation in her voice, I mean, you know, she basically, the long story short is, the way I perceived that was that she thinks that she's above us. You know, the fact that she was Secretary of State means that she's never going to have to go through that kind of procedure, and the fact, even if she wasn't Secretary of State, she's an ex-First Lady, it's extremely doubtful she would have to be put through those types of procedures. I think it's fair to assume that Mrs. Clinton is not a terrorist. However, what happened to the idea that we're all equal here? You know, I don't like the idea that politicians are comfortable being above us or thinking of themselves as above us. That just bothers me on a very personal level. You know, her blood's the same color as mine, same color as yours, you know. Our shit all smells the same, you know. Might not smell exactly like each other's, but it all smells the same. It all smells, yeah, you know what I mean. Fuck it. Jesus Christ, I don't want to get diverted on that. Anyway, right, Hillary Clinton. So yeah, I can't trust her. I don't like that whole sort of almost like she thinks of herself as royalty kind of attitude. That really bothers me. Her vote for the Iraq War bothers me extremely. I think the Iraq War was the worst decision we've made in my lifetime, politically. You know, it's, by the time we're paying it off in 2050 or so, it'll cost around $7 trillion. And while we were fighting it, it was like $1 billion a day. But somehow we can't afford health care for our people, and we can't afford fucking all this other stuff which they say we can't afford. But you can afford a war whenever you fucking want one. You snap your fucking fingers, you know. Hillary voted for that war in 2002 along with 98 other senators. The only one senator who didn't vote for it was Bernie Sanders. And Bernie didn't just not vote for it because he wanted to be an upstart. He looked at the evidence and wasn't compelled by it to, you know, he didn't believe it. Neither did I at the time. I'm a lay person. I don't have access to classified information, but I did have the internet, and there was plenty of information in the public domain if you were willing to go out and look for it, which basically told you that Saddam Hussein was not in possession of weapons of mass destruction. And we all knew already that Saddam Hussein and anyone else in Iraq didn't have anything to do with 9/11. Those were facts on the ground. It was easy to determine those things, but the press was pushing the agenda of the Bush regime at the time really, really hard. And the Senate fell in line, and I think Hillary Clinton made a calculation at the time that to oppose the war, would be disastrous for her presidential ambitions, because we all know she became a senator in the first place so that she could later run for the presidency. And I think she thought that it would be an impediment to her chances. As it's turned out, it's the opposite. Her vote for the Iraq War didn't do her any favors in 2008 when she was competing against Barack Obama, because the war was still going on. It was extremely unpopular at the time. Now it's been over for 3 or 4 years, and people don't seem to be so concerned about what a blunder it was. I mean, it cost hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives. It cost so many American lives and even more limbs. People come back traumatized from it as well, which is a serious issue. We don't take care of our vets. Everybody knows that. So yeah, and we've destabilized the region. We've created more terrorists rather than less. The only people to benefit from that war, which put us in debt for 3 generations, were the fucking military-industrial complex interests selling weapons and all that shit. Those are the only people that benefited from that war. Oh, guess who donates to all these political campaigns? And people want to say we don't need to be worried about this stuff. And it's so important to get money out of politics. It's gotten to the level where they literally don't even have to serve the people at all. It's beyond the pale, and it needs to be arrested as soon as possible. And I can't support someone who is not just a part of that system, but a leading player in it. Someone who has... Hillary Clinton owes an awful lot of favors to all of these donors. We all know it. And why should we pretend otherwise? I didn't mean for the video to go on this long, and I'm really sorry about that. I just looked at the time. I better get off. I want to thank you if you stuck around to watch the whole video. JJ Talks is up next in The Breakfast Club. I doubt she'll be talking about this topic, but let's find out what she does talk about. And yeah, until next week, thanks for watching. Look forward to all your comments down below, or even a video response would be welcome. See you next time.